Let's break down the core idea behind this paper. Attention is all you need. Google Brain, 2017. 9 years old, and still what almost everything you use is running on. 9 years. Hundreds of papers built to replace it. Linear attention, state space models. Every attention is not all you need. Rebuttal on arXiv. And the model you talked to this morning is still underneath this. So this isn't a tutorial on what attention is. It's an autopsy of the choices that made it survive. Punchline up front. It didn't win by being smarter. It won because it fit the hardware. Here's what they were actually fighting in 2017. A recurrent net computes position 5 from position 4, which came from 3, which came from 2. It's a chain. A 40-token sentence is 40 steps you cannot skip, not with a bigger GPU, not with 100 of them. Meanwhile, the GPU, built to do 10,000 multiplications at once, sits idle waiting its turn. Attention already existed, bolted onto that chain. The move was deleting the chain. Replace it with this. Every position looks at every other position directly. And here's the load-bearing part. None of those lookups depend on each other. So the sentence isn't 40 steps. It's one matrix multiply. Queries against keys, softmax, times values, and all 40 positions resolve in the same instant. Recurrence needs in sequential operations. Self-attention needs 1, however long the input. And token 1 reaches token 40 in a single hop, so gradients never run a 40-step relay. Now a detail that looks like nothing. A score is a dot product over 64 dimensions, and a sum like that spreads out as dimensions pile up. Its spread grows like the square root of decay. So scores don't swing plus or minus 1. They swing plus or minus 8. Push that into a softmax, and you get a spike, not a distribution, one position at basically 1, the rest at 0. And softmax at a spike has no gradient left. The layer stops learning where to look. Divide by root decay, and it trains. The justification for the most copied symbol in deep learning is, delightfully, a hedge. One head produces one weighted average, and an average is a blur. If a token needs to track its subject, its verb tense, and the bracket it has to close, one softmax smears across all 3, and you get mush. So, project into 8 subspaces of 64 dimensions, run 8 attentions side by side, concatenate. Each head gets to be sharp about one relationship. And the sly part is the accounting. 64 times 8 is 512, so 8 heads cost what 1 did. But deleting the chain deleted order along with it. Attention is permutation invariant. Shuffle the tokens, and every score is identical. The outputs just shuffle along. The cat ate the fish, and the fish ate the cat, are the same bag. So order gets injected by hand. Sines and cosines whose wavelengths stretch from a few radians to 60,000. A clock where every dimension ticks at its own rate. Shift by a fixed offset, and it's a linear transform. That's the thread a decade of position papers went on to pull. If, why does this thing refuse to die, is your kind of question. Like, subscribe, and send it to whoever told you attention got replaced last week. Then the boring glue that makes 6 layers trainable at all. A sublayer never replaces its input, it adds to it. Layer norm of x plus whatever the sublayer computed, which leaves a straight wire from the loss down to layer 1, instead of a gradient fighting through 6 transformations to get there. Every block writes an edit onto a running stream, instead of overwriting it. That's why we call it the residual stream. A shared bus every head reads from and writes back to. Now the table they were honest about. Per layer, self-attention costs n squared times d, recurrence costs n times d squared. So when the sequence is shorter than the model is wide, 40 tokens, 512 dimensions, every sentence in 2017, attention is genuinely cheaper. And in the column that mattered, one sequential step versus n, a quadratic in length, traded for a constant in depth. Back then that quadratic was free. It stopped being free the day context hit 64,000. The design didn't age badly. The input got 1,000 times longer. And the numbers that bought it the benefit of the doubt. 28.4 BLEU on English-German, beating every prior model, ensembles included, by over 2 points. 41.8 on English-French, a new single model record, after 3.5 days on 8 GPUs. Their base model beat everything published before it on roughly 100th of the training compute. Not just better, absurdly cheaper. Straight from the abstract. So the whole recipe, cut the recurrence, and the sequence resolves in one shot instead of in steps. Divide by root dk, and the softmax keeps a gradient. Split the width into 8 heads, and one blur becomes 8 sharp relations. Add a sinusoidal clock, because order stopped being free. Wrap it in a residual stream, so depth trains. 9 years of challengers have attacked exactly one of those, the n squared, and every one that stuck kept the skeleton. One line. Every choice in here was bought with parallelism. The whole sequence computes at once, and everything else exists to keep that shape trainable. Which leaves the question the whole attention war turns on. Is the n squared a bug we eventually delete? Or is looking at everything the thing that actually makes it work? That's my read. Tell me yours. Until next time.